always ask Mother Elder permission before you take cuttings from her. She has the power to protect and harm, so Folklore says. I always ask all plants permission before I cut them or harvest them. So for the elderberry, when I do my cuttings, I make sure that there are buds, 2 sets of buds. And you always look for the camion, which is the green under the bark. Here, when you go to do a cutting, it's got to have some green in it. And I don't see anybody else doing this, but I've had great luck with my elderberries, so maybe it works. I always cut the bark off around the bottom, and then I'll soak them overnight or forever how long it takes for me to get to them before I plant them. I've got some soaking in water for a week, 2 weeks. They don't usually root when they're sitting in water. They like dirt. They like moist dirt, but not too moist. And when I put them into soak, I use my willow tea. And I'll soak a banana in there for a little bit of potassium too. Or I'll stick a willow branch in the same water that I'm going to soak my elderberries in. Just to give it a little start. You know, the willow, they say, is a hormone. Well, I also, I do like triple. I take my willow, when I'm going to plant it in dirt, after it's soaked overnight. I take it and I dip it in raw honey, and then I dip it in cinnamon, and then I stick her in the dirt. And that's pretty much all I do, and it does pretty good. All my elderberries are leafing out, and I'll wait till they get pretty good leaves on them, and I'll set them out. I'm going to have a whole elderberry grove or orchard this year. I've got over 100 starts so far. Anyway, I wanted to talk about something else. My magic potion. My liquid fertilizer. Now, there's so many people that are, I think, just plain darn weird when you tell them about using pea in your garden. Pea has your nitrogen, your potassium, and your phosphorus. That's what you need for plants. I also use calcium. Almost all plants need calcium too, and I'll put this in the bottom of the pots when I start them, and I got it in my flower beds. I put it in my garden. Sometimes I crush it up. Anyway, this is oyster shell, the same oyster shell I give my chickens for their eggs. But as far as pea goes, it's 1 part pea to 10 parts water for your young seedlings. And it's, 20 parts water to 1 part pea for your young seedlings, and 10 parts water to 1 part pea for your garden and your potted flowers and your veggies. And you don't pour it directly on the plants, you put it in the dirt. And it works. And I don't buy fertilizer. I make my own, or I got chicken poo and everything I take out of the chicken coop. I put in my raised beds and I till it in the garden. But I use pea too. If you're going to put it in your compost, you just pea in your compost. It's 1-to-1 there. But I put mine in distilled water. And I keep it in a dark spot, in a dark place, and kind of cool. I don't put it anywhere near a heater or anything. Get over the ick factor, because pigs and cows, that urea, unless it's a processed chemical, the ammonia, they're peeing and pooping too, Just make sure that you're not taking any medicines whatsoever. I got a pretty clean system. I don't do drugs. I don't take medicines. I don't even take aspirin. Well, I have, just but real aspirin. And I'll chew on a willow. But just make sure you're not taking any kind of medications, over the counter or otherwise. And if you don't have pure pee, get somebody to pee for you, a child or somebody. It's just a cup to, I put a cup in a gallon. Is how I do it for my starts and my seedlings. And then later this summer, it'll be 2 cups into a gallon for my liquid fertilizer. Anyway, I wanted to tell you about the folklore of the elderberries and how I get them started, what I do. And they do pretty darn good. So elderberries it's one of the best medicinal plants. You make cough syrups out of it. You can do tinctures out of it and teas. But you always want to remove the seeds, and you don't use the bark or the leaves, they have cyanide in them, and that's not a big scare either. I mean, so do apple seeds, But I make jellies, and I make wine, and I make tinctures, and it is such a rich fruit. You can make dye for your clothing, which I have done. Beautiful lavenders and purples and blues. Anyway, get over the ick factor of peeing in your garden. And if you need a hormone to start your plants, you can buy that stuff in the stores or over the internet. To me, it's kind of spendy. I just use raw honey, and I use cinnamon. Sometimes I use apple cider vinegar, and I soak my starts overnight, always in my willow tea, and then sometimes I just let them hang with willows in the water. But so I hope I've enlightened you a little bit about elderberry.